Yo, what's going on, guys? This is the Unknown here. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Today's video is basically gonna be covering Jason Voorhees and basically his power scaling systems and where does he genuinely scale. This video mainly came off because I decided to spend an entire Saturday researching the Friday franchises, reading the comics, watching all the movies and stuff like that. I mean, I watched it before. I was a Jason fan before, but I had to get recapped and stuff and learn all the stuff. You feel me? And also, this is kind of, paying homage to Jason fans since basically they got their fan back, they got the Jason rights and all that shit got basically resolved. So, pops up to them, Jason's no longer literally, copyrighted anymore. I mean, I'm gonna blur out a lot of clips in this video, a lot of background, videos, because, I don't know if Friday the 13th is copyrighted or not. I'm only gonna really show, clear videos for the feats I'm gonna mention, but other than that, this is kind of gonna be a blurry video. I don't want trouble with YouTube, especially since I'm supposed to get paid by them and stuff. So yeah. But before we begin with the video, I encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications so you guys are notified every time a new video goes live. We're almost at 2K, guys. We almost there. Let's see if we can get 2K before October ends, or maybe before the beginning of November, bro. We almost there, man. But also I also made a membership page. I made memberships. It's activated. If you guys want to basically donate to the channel and support the channel even further and stuff, you don't have to. Once again, you don't have to, for real. I'm happy with what I got right now. I'm blessed. But if y'all want to help, support, do all that little yada 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 stuff, I have super thanks and membership on. So yeah. And without that, let's get into the video. So basically the first thing we're going to be covering is Jason's lifting strength and attack potency. I'm only going to be covering zombie / deadite Jason and then maybe uber Jason if I have enough energy to. I'm not really going to mention human Jason because human Jason doesn't necessarily have a lot of things going for him. He has some wall level, maybe wall plus stuff, but he's not really all that interesting compared to his zombie counterpart that I would, care for. This video also might mention a little bit of Freddy Krueger scaling since some of Jason's stuff does derive off of that. So yeah. So Jason's first feat is in part 6, at least when it comes to zombie Jason. I'm only gonna be covering the most important feats, by the way, the feats that I think are interesting enough that I basically want to have them in the video. So Jason's first feat in part 6 is basically when he slices off the 3 cadets' heads within an instant. If you guys want to, you could probably argue this is the subsonic ranges, or you can just simply argue that this is the shock factor. But I think, at least based off how the scene works and stuff, and that this could be necessarily deductively subsonic type of speeds. Jason's next feat is basically when he crashes the girl's head through that of the metal wall within this RV, and then the RV flips over and Jason still basically survives this. I'm not necessarily sure where this scales, at least for the girl feat. I think this would definitely get Jason's lifting strength around the class M department, since it basically is extreme pressuring on that of metal. And for the car crashing, it's probably wall level, maybe wall plus at best, something of that nature. Now basically his next feat, and this is coming from part 7. Part 7 is pretty much just where Jason got pretty much a massive upgrade. He went from wall level or wall plus to just instantly small building level. But for a minor feat, he basically crushes this guy's skull. I literally had a different title on my server how I wrote it, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna chill out real quick. But Jason's biggest feat, at least until Freddy vs. Jason, is that he tanks the house explosion that was caused by Tina, which was calculated to be around the small building level ranges. I believe it's almost small building plus as well. So yeah, Jason had a pretty good upgrade in this movie. Not really gonna mention part 8 or 9 since they don't really necessarily have anything interesting. Part 9 only really has just hacks that are interesting. But yeah, so now we're gonna get to Freddy vs. Jason. In the dream world, Freddy basically punches and kicks Jason, sends him into a boiler, and he slams him with a boiler as well. It was even stated how the boiler in the novelization of the movie, how it was 10 tons and was also incredibly hot at that time. This feat was calculated to be around the wall plus ranges, which I found disappointing because I was like, no, that feat gotta be basically higher, but it's whatever. But in short, Jason, I don't know if this is through spiritual means and stuff, but he pretty much is semi-resistant to Freddy's dream world attacks. Note when Freddy starts drowning Jason in there, Jason does kind of start like hurting and dying in the real world. But you know, I think Jason to an extent can still like you know, do stuff, you know, like, you know, tank stuff from Freddy's, you know, stuff, you know, you feel me? I'll scale Freddy later if you guys want to like argue that, so, you know, pay attention, stick around for the video. And then in the other climax of the film, Jason and Freddy, you know, before Freddy basically got the machete, was going towards Lori and what Will, basically tanked this massive explosion, which was calculated to be around the building plus ranges. You know, once again, a pretty massive upgrade for Jason, and you're guys gonna see that Jason is more consistently around the building level. Yeah, I'll just spoil it right there. Jason's max attack potency, at least physically, is more around the building level ranges. If you basically want to argue Jason a little bit higher, which this is more going to go towards his skull, his like soul, which I guess I'll just mention that later on. I'm not really going to go about it now. But like, it basically stated how like Freddy used all his wits and power in the dream world to kill Jason, but it was basically pointless as it doesn't necessarily work to kill him. So we know that basically, at least maybe like spiritually or something like that, because once again, Jason's not really that consistent with higher dimensional stuff, that Jason at the very least like spiritually and shit like that, or to a certain extent, could resist Freddy's attacks, which I'll scale Freddy in a second. We're just gonna get some of like Jason's things out of the way. All right, so basically in the dream world, Freddy Krueger should be at least multi-plus in the dream world. It's explore how basically how Freddy has boundless amounts of dimensions when it comes to his dream world, and how he creates enough for that of like, you know, him and his victims, and that he's basically power through that. The scans that I'm using comes from the Freddy vs. Jason script, along with a script that basically Wes Craven goes over with Freddy Krueger. These scans were by friends, so do not basically be on my ass and be like, yo, I know, hold on a second, where do you got this shit from? Not gonna lie, Genki. Even then, Freddy just by the narrative of the dream world should just at least be 4D anyway, so it doesn't necessarily matter. Now we're gonna get to Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, and I guess this is also where I go into the comics of Jason. And I'll just put these scans here. Most of the comics in general are considered canon, and even then they just deductively follow from most of the Freddy franchises, or they follow from Freddy vs. Jason and have the same Jason, well, from those franchises. Along with that, even Jason vs. Jason X has the same Jason necessarily from, like, you know, Jason X, and even the Deadeye Jason before, you know, Uber Jason, or at least the first Uber Jason, because there's like multiple variations of Uber Jason, I believe, at least in the comics. So yeah. But anyways, so in Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, Jason like beats the brakes off Ash and basically catches his chainsaw and stuff, like semi basically being above him in speed, or at least in combat reaction speed. This is the same Ash who basically, by screenshots at the very least, I mean, I don't watch even Evil Dead, I mean, I should, but you know, basically Ash has like supersonic calculations of speed. So Jason, once again, you know, my boy got basically a massive ass upgrade and shit. And as explored basically within Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash Nightmare Warriors, Jason as a soul or spiritually should be Hyuni, as Freddy basically states after literally absorbing his soul how Jason's soul has limitless power. Along with that, if you guys want to use the novelizations or basically scripts of Freddy vs. Jason, is basically clearly stated how Freddy's dream world is boundless. So you can basically just say that Jason, once again, spiritually is Hyuni. So basically, Jason spiritually should be around like the Hyuni to multi-plus ranges. Once again, only as a soul or spirit, not necessarily physically. He doesn't like physically scale to a lot of his stuff, considering that he isn't necessarily, you know, entirely consistent. In another Jason comic, I believe this is basically off the one where he like helps the kid that was also mentally disfigured like him. It basically sort of like tanks getting like shoved off of a mountain, which I'm not sure where that scales. I might get that calced. Once again, a lot of these feats I might get calced. I just decided to leave these feats down because, like, once again, I thought they were so interesting that, you know, man, hey man, I might as well add this shit. In Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, Freddy basically crushes Jason with an entire building on him, yet as we see later, Jason effortlessly gets up from this and, you know, goes on to attack Necronomicon Freddy. So we can at least deductively say that Jason did tank this pretty much effortlessly. Jason also basically should have like supersonic plus speeds. He outpaces a helicopter in its bullets and then takes a playground duck, I shit you not, and throws that bitch at that helicopter and it blows the fuck up. And then here's the calculations by my good friend Sheris. Sheris is pretty much like a more knowledgeable Jason guy than me and has calced a shit ton of Jason stuff, so credits to him. Shout out to my boy. Thank you so much for this stuff. So yeah, Jason got some good supersonic plus types of speed. yeah, I'm basically just going over all my feats. Man, fuck what I was saying in the beginning. Alright. But in the Jason comic, Abuse and the Abuse, Jason basically throws a car and tanks the explosion that it basically causes. I think throwing cars like, what, class 5 or something, lifting strength, not really impressive. But the explosion width of it, maybe it's probably going to be like around wall level plus or small building. I'm not necessarily sure. I might get that calced once again. And in Jason versus Jason X, while this Jason clone, which Jason should be still comparable to, did lose, he still was able to hurt and do stuff to that of Uber Jason, and does some damage to him, some speed shit on him, and basically stuff. He didn't lose, but like, you know, he kind of like at the same time did hurt him a little bit. He should like semi-scale to Uber Jason, but at the same time downscale. Which also I should mention this, Jason is most consistently around the building level ranges, but he does have a bunch of highball skills that you can use for him. He should have Class K lifting strength, tears out Will's spine in Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, and should also have Class M lifting strength. He basically tears off military-like engraved metal chains and uses them, or probably even stronger than that, since pretty much that's the US of A. I had to pretty much just do so many things to get Jason, like, you know, contained and stuff like that. So Jason even breaking out of that should narratively be, like, really, really high. I think it was also implied in the film that basically, they make it really clear how nothing could kill Jason, all the methods they were basically trying as well, and how they wanted to use them for further studies. So once again, if you want to argue Jason like really, really high, you can basically just use these narrations and stuff like that. And I think that's it for Deadeye Jason. I guess I'll cover Uber Jason then. I'm not going to cover entirely everything, but, you know, still. Uber Jason and Jason X Special, basically at the end, if you guys didn't know, at the end of Jason X, Jason pretty much just, you know, gets shoved into the atmosphere by Robsky, I think? I don't fucking care. Human characters in Friday the franchise literally don't fucking matter. But Jason basically survives the crater, like, you know, like the little space shit that happened at the end of the movie, and in Jason X Special, we're shown that he tanks it, which it was calced at bringing around the building level ranges. Uber Jason's next necessary feat is pretty much just beating the brakes off of like his clone of Deadeye Jason, you know, and winning the fight at the very end of it. Along with that, shoving him through a steel wall, which was calculated by Versus Battle Wiki to be a small building plus. You guys can go on Versus Battle Wiki and look at Jason's calcs as pretty much a great ass chunk of the VSBW calcs for Jason are pretty much really, really good and are accepted by that of Sheriff. So, you know, they are valid, you know, because Sheriff, once again, he does a lot more research than me when it comes to a lot of scaling things, and especially when it comes to like calculations and 3D stuff. So if Sheriff says it's good, then I'm gonna say it's good. So take my word on that shit. I'll link Jason's VSBW page in the description because just the calcs, because once again, the calcs are actually really, really good and are actually fine. So his piercing attack and potency is strong enough to basically pierce through a thick metal door of the government as if it were cheese, which I'll just show the scan basically up there. Canon Uber Jason should also scale off every single Deadite feat, as Uber Jason is upgraded in almost every sense. So basically, like, he is pretty much just like the Homelander statement in The Boys Season 3. Like, when basically he confronted Soulja Boy and was like, no, I'm the upgrade. That's kind of like Uber Jason compared to Deadite Jason. And obviously, we literally see Uber Jason beat the brakes off of a Deadite Jason that was even amped by nanobytes. So, like, yeah, Uber Jason should just be completely superior to that of his other forms. Basically, he's like the strongest type of form. Jason's other feat is that he basically tanks this explosion, which was calculated to be around the large building level ranges as Uber Jason. Along with that, he has this city level calc off of taking an atmosphere explosion, I believe in like the Uber comics, the Uber novelizations. So that's really cool there too. And then here's like this Versus Battle Wiki link that has various Jason speed calcs that range between superhuman to sub-relativistic plus. You know, just some really cool stuff there if you guys want to do that. Jason, for his other types of feats, he basically crushes a metal ramp, which was calced to being around Class M lifting strength. You know, some interesting things there. Uber Jason, this was like one of the more cooler feats, is able to outpace and blitz a laser gun by Renetta, and the second scan is referred to as light. So we can basically just deductively say by deductive reasoning that Uber Jason will basically be around the FTL types of ranges. And it even has a calc here by Sheriff too, by the way, that basically clarifies this, you know, further. He also just tanks the ship explosion in the end of Jason X, which shares calculated to be around the small town level ranges. So once again, some really good stuff for Jason there. That is it for pretty much Jason's feats entirely. I don't like that I went out of order, but once again, this is like meant to be a more fast-paced video since I am kind of busy. Yeah, so let's get to Jason's hacks. Now, Jason doesn't necessarily have the insane amounts of hacks. Actually, never mind. He has good hacks. I'm not going to go over every hacks, at least the Uber hacks. So, I'll probably just screenshot them and show them on screen for you guys to read. I'll just cover the hacks that I think are the most important for Jason. So, Jason should basically have absorption via him basically absorbing the Deadeye Jason's brain. And since we also know that Uber is a total upgrade from the base pre-Uber Jason, before Jason X happened, was capable of resurrecting and regenerating from losing his head in Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash. So like regeneration and type 2 immortality, you can argue for Jason. And also Jason Special or Bloodbath, one of them. It's one of them. He basically regenerates parts of his body after it was shot up by that of the military with like special weaponry. He should also have statistics amplification. It basically stated that human Jason in part 2 and 3 resurrected from being killed off by getting stabbed in the shoulder with a machete and stuff like that. So basically just simply severe pain just causes Jason to get basically stronger. For his other types of feats, Jason basically should like via Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash have resistance to soul manipulation, as the vortex that Freddy was made out of had like all the souls in Necronomicon. It was basically swallowing all people's souls until like Freddy vs. Jason, but Jason simply walked this type of hacks off. He should also pretty much have resistance to that of the Freddy Krueger Necronomicon. He's shown consistently that he's basically resistant to that. The Necronomicon, the novelization, would basically state how it like was like rippling through space and time. So you can basically just say that Jason has resistance to reality warping and space-time manipulation. He should also have resistance to like subjective reality, as Freddy can basically remake the world in his own image with that of the Necronomicon. And it's already expanded of how the Necronomicon has like unlimited power and stuff like that. So like things of this nature is not that necessarily far-fetched to assume subjective reality off of. And also that it's just reality warping, as Freddy once again with the Necronomicon asserts how he can you know, say how like he can like do something with reality. I mean in one of the scans. He should also have possession. I'll show the clip real quick. Jason basically has the ability to possess people, while their bodies they again have superhuman characteristics but are weaker than his normal body and degrade at a rapid rate due to Jason's like soul. So you could probably just say corruption and like mouth manipulation, as you guys remember when Jason possessed that one guy, and after he got done possessing him, his body like melted apart. Jason should also have immersion. He went into this VR game of their deathmatch and killed the alien along with hurting them as well. And Jason should have like technology manipulation as Uber Jason. Uber Jason can control nearby technology and in the scan frees himself from them and also destroys them at the same time. So I think that's gonna be it for Jason scaling. This was like more of a fast-paced video, so I apologize if you guys don't like that. But if you guys also want, you know, more of that, then well, you guys can just sub and stuff and comment and all that bullshit. If you guys want me to do some Friday the 13th edits like with Jason, because once again I'm thinking about repping horror and stuff on this channel. But if you guys want me to expand more content, expand more series, because like, hey, I've been watching some Transformers, some Sonic and shit lately, bro. And like, I swear, man, for real, that stuff is fire. And I might low key make that Sonic video, because I did mention making a Sonic scaling video. I might do that. I gotta watch Shadow Generations and see about that. But yeah, without that, this is the Unknown scaling Friday the 13th. May God bless y'all. Keep all y'all motherfuckers safe. Peace.